Welcome to the virtual Crucian Cultural Cuisine segments. I have with me today Miss Sandra Gerard. How are you feeling today?
I am wonderful.
And today, Miss Gerard, I know you're in many organizations and also a practitioner of culture. And today we are going to be talking about our food ways here culturally. What do we have to learn about our cuisines today?
Today we're going to do green gage, which is a lime preserve that is used in Vienna cakes. But because I've been making it, people have been using it differently. They've been using it as a jam, as a jelly. I have one person who loves it with cream cheese on bagels. So it is a sour lime consistency and taste. It's a little bitterish. So it can be a taste that you would have to like over a period of time. And we're also going to do fresh guava preserve or guava jelly, but I'm doing it with fresh guavas. So it's going to be thick. It's not going to be a clear consistency. It's going to be a thick consistency.
So first we're gonna start off with green gage, which I always, and you said before, always known to be one of the traditional recipes, seasonings of a real Crucian Vienna, 7-layer Vienna cake.
It is one of the layers.
Yes.
And it is made with green lime. And you take the green lime, which is this, and they can be local limes as long as they're limes, not lemons.
Okay.
These are local limes that I got from one of the farmers. Okay, so you're taking a green lime, you're going to feel it. You don't want it to be so thick that it's spongy like an orange. You want the rind to be fairly thin so you can feel it. You also don't want a rough skin. You want a smoother skin.
Okay, smooth. Okay.
And then you're going to take those and you're going to squeeze, you're going to slice them and squeeze out all the juice.
Okay.
And then you're going to cut off the ends. And this is what you end up with. Once you've done that, you are then going to take these rinds and you're going to put them in a bowl, preferably a glass bowl or a white enamel bowl, because it is acidic.
Yes.
So you don't want it in a stainless steel or an iron. So you
preferably
or even
glass.
a Pyrex dish.
Oh, okay.
And then you're going to soak them in water and salt for 24 hours.
24 hours.
Changing it every 4 hours for 24 hours. So you need to be home when you're doing this.
You have to pour it out and
then
repeat
put fresh
salt,
water
salt,
and salt.
Correct. Yeah. It's a process.
Once you're done, after 24 hours, you're then going to go to clear water. Just plain clear water, because now you're going to wash away all of that salt content, but you are preserving the rind. Once you've completed that, so now 2 days have passed.
Okay.
So you know that this they used to do at home when there were a lot of women doing a lot of work, and they would sit and talk and process this. You're then going to grind it. You can use, of course, an electric grinder or a blender or an osterizer, and you want to come to a consistency of pulp. So this is the rind, the entire green lime.
You want to hold it up first.
So this is what you get.
Oh, wow.
And the juice is the natural juice that comes from it.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So once we have this rind, we're then going to cook it. And that's when the process begins making the preserve. And you are going to add equal parts of rind and sugar. I cut it down, so if I do a cup of rind, I do 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So it's not super sweet.
So let's just review again. So you're gonna get your lime and
Green limes.
cultivated here.
They have to be green.
And then after you cut the back, as Ms. Gerard stated, then you have like a whole 2-day process.
But you're squeezing the juice out.
You're taking the juice out because you're utilizing this part of the lime.
Correct.
And then we have, and then we have to boil it and change the water and the salt.
No, you're not boiling. You're boiling.
Oh no, we're just holding the water.
You're just holding
the water, correct. There we
changing
go.
it every
Change
4
it
hours.
4 hours.
So it's fresh water every
Okay.
4 hours.
Okay.
Once the salted water is finished, then you're going to fresh water.
Would you say this recipe, as we know we have a strong colonial past, would you say is heavily based on any Danish dishes, or is it just a mashup of both African and Danish cultures?
I don't really know. My recipe came from Amy Mackay,
Okay.
and she has it in the We Cook cookbook. And yes, she did have a lot of Danish dishes. You know, in those days they used everything that they had. So you had green lime, you made lemonade. What do you do with the skins?
You have to utilize
You got to
part of
use the
it.
skins. So let's make a jelly. So that's what we did. So I guess it can come from anywhere. The Danes, the African, who knows? It was the use of the entire fruit. We didn't let anything go to waste.
And additionally to, since we are changing, with our culture is changing, and we do now have influences from neighboring islands and from our mainland and from international waters, can you tell me a little bit about the infamous 7-layer cake and what the 7-layer Vienna cake traditionally has? So we know one of those layers would be a green gage, and this is how we would make it. But you also have spoke to me previously about something like a tamarind being a layer as well.
There can be. So you have green gage, you have guava, you have tamarind, you can have red cherry. Because remember, we made jellies from all of these.
Okay.
So you have red jelly, you have plum. You could use a plumsitiere. So any local fruit, but you did 7 different layers. But one of the layers is also guava berry. And guava berry, of course, you have to pull out the seeds and you have to stew it and maybe grind it down. Some people do, some people don't. So you're going to have 7 different layers of a cake with different colors. So when you slice that Vienna cake and you put it on the plate, you have 7 layers and you have 7 beautiful colors
Yes.
in it. And that's the beauty of the cake. So one is green gage, one is guava, you could have the tamarind, you could have the cherry, and you always must have the guava berry. So just anything that's local would make the 7 layers. Some people do 5 layers, but a traditional Vienna cake is 7 layers.
And so now we're seeing Vienna cakes with maybe like 3 layers, but traditionally
That's a layer cake.
that's just what we should call a layer cake. But this is one of the items that would be in a traditional 7-layer cake.
Yes.
Is a 7-layer Vienna cake synonymous with the Virgin Islands, or is it other islands that do 7-layer Vienna cakes?
I really don't know about a 7-layer cake being made anywhere else. And ours, it was a Vienna cake from Vienna. And that's how it started. And Wayne James had a beautiful article about the cake. It was the Queen of Vienna who made it for her son. So that's how we ended up with the Vienna cake. And then it came through Denmark and it came here. But again, I don't know. I know people make layer cakes. I know we have a lot of people who bake and now make a Vienna cake that come from different places. But I think they've all learned about using our different jellies and jams. So.
But it's just good to make sure that we document what was done traditionally.
Yes. And I guess we need to continue doing some research and finding out exactly if the other, if St. Kitts and Antigua and Barbados and St. Lucia, if they do a layer cake, and whether it is like our cake, because everybody does a layer cake. So maybe that's something we'll do in the future.
Vienna cake also reminds me of Madras.
It is.
With all the colors.
It's a beautiful, and I have a piece, so let me show you what. So there you have.
Wow. Beautiful.
And you have the green.
Yes. 7 layers. So what items do you have in right here?
Okay, this has green gage. This is plum. This is guava berry. This is guava. This is pineapple. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there's another one in between there that you can't see. So this is really 6, not 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's pineapple, guava, guava berry, plum, green gage, and cherry.
Let's look at the consistency here at the stove, right? Because you already started
Okay, so once you have ground this up, these are your skins. You're going to add your equal parts of sugar, or drop it down 1/4 cup per cup. So if you have 2 cups of pulp, you're going to use 1/4 cup for the first cup, 1/4 cup for the second cup. You're then going to put that into a pot, adding the sugar, and you're going to start cooking it.
And we're going to make our way to the stove.
And then we're going, yes you are. All right, one of the things that you need to know is that you must have wood spoons.
Oh.
You cannot use metal spoons. Wood.
Okay.
All right, because of the acidity of the limes.
Right.
So here we have the freshly ground grated lime rind with sugar. And you're going to cook this. The trick of this is that you must continue stirring, because it will stick to the pot.
How much sugar again? 1/4?
So you're using 3/4 of a cup of sugar to 1 cup of rind. If you feel that it needs to be sweeter, then you can add. I have been able to pull back on the amount of sugar just because people don't need all that sugar, because it's very, very sweet. And this is not a sweet jelly, it is a tart jelly. So you're going to stir. You're going to let it come to a boil, but stirring.
Yes.
So you're not at full flame. And it might take you an hour or 2, according to the amount on, I would say, a medium.
Okay.
A medium flame. Not a high flame, because it will burn. And if it burns, that's it. You got to throw it away. And that has happened to me before.
Process again.
It is, and it can be very costly if you're doing a lot. So I would, if anyone wants to try, I would say start with a little bit. And it took me, I'm going to say it took me almost 2 years to get to this.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was constantly trying. So once you have cooked this to the consistency that you want, and there are times that you might find that it's not as creamy as you would like. Once it cools, you can put it back in the blender or the grinder and grind it up. But then, once this is complete, then we're going to add some green food coloring.
Oh, okay.
And that's where we get the umph of the green food coloring.
Yes, because it has a more yellowish look at this time.
So here we are to the
with the food coloring.
With the food coloring and to the brightness of it and the richness. So add a little bit and stir and until you like the color.
Yes.
This is almost just a little bit too bright, but it's okay.
I like it.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Yes, it is.
You know, the other thing is that I also do green gage, not just for Vienna cakes, but also for persons who like it as a preserve.
Yeah.
So
what would you say? I heard earlier you said some persons use it on a piece of toast.
Some people love it just on toast with butter. Some people love it with cream cheese. It's delicious with cream cheese on a bagel.
Okay.
It's also great with peanut butter. I mean, it's also a condiment for your foods.
Oh.
So if you're, some people like turkey with cranberry. You could have turkey with green gage.
That's true.
Yeah, you could have lamb. You could have green
people
gage.
Use mint sauce.
We use mint. You could use
sauce.
it's really according to what condiment. The other thing is there are people who make curries, and then they use a lot of condiments. You can also use green gage as a condiment. So it's up to your individual taste as to what you like and what you don't like. But the consistency has to be smooth so that you can put a layer on a cake. And this is the final consistency. Yeah. And if you notice that when you put it on the spoon, it's not dripping off by that. It's falling off, but in clumps. So it's not a watery consistency.
That is nice. Yes, it would be lovely if we had the ability to do a lot of distribution and get it throughout the other islands
And
the
it
mainland.
is, but here is the other thing. I'm not using any preservative.
Okay, yes, it's all natural.
It's all natural. So I keep it refrigerated.
Yes.
I,
How
what-
long would this last, you think?
I've had refrigerated for 2 years, and it's fine. But again,
Not in the freezer, just
in the
refrigerated.
refrigerator.
Okay, wow.
But again, it's also the consistency. If I dried this out anymore, then it would dry out in the refrigerator. So it's got to be a juicy consistency. So it's not firm, but it's also not watery.
So we're back with the virtual Crucian cultural cuisine segments. Again, I have with me Miss Sandra Gerard. And Miss Gerard, what other dishes are we going to prepare today?
We are going to make a traditional guava jelly.
And you
with-
said it was from your home, from your
Yes,
yard.
I have a guava tree in the backyard, and I save my guavas. I will freeze guavas. I cut them and put them in the freezer.
Okay.
There are times that I will go through the process of grinding and making the puree and freezing that. So it's according to how many guavas I have and what mood I'm in.
Okay.
Because you get tired of it. It is also a long process because it cooks for 3 to 6 hours according to how much you have in the pot. So we're starting off today with fresh guavas, and they can have spots on them. That's fine. They're sweeter. So what we're going to do is you take the guavas and wash them well, because usually guavas fall off the tree, and you pick them. You're going to take out the stem, and then you're going to chop them up. And that is chopped guava. And if you notice, this is the pink guava. There is a white guava. I have never used the white guava. There is a distinct flavor between the white and the red. This is the pink, the pinkish red. So that's what we're using. Once we cut that up, we put it in a pot and we boil it.
So this one you boil.
This is boiled, yes. And this is what we have. And then we're going to take this and put it through a strainer, a mesh strainer with a spoon, again, wooden spoon. And this is the pulp that comes out of that.
So when you boil, the water is going to go over the amount of guavas.
Just slightly over it.
And let it boil. How long will it boil for?
Until you can mash it.
Okay, maybe 15 minutes?
20
10
minutes.
Okay.
And then you want it to be that you can put it in the blender, or you can put it in the strainer. I put it in the blender, or I have a Ninja, so I put it in the Ninja.
And you're just boiling to make sure that it gets soft,
Soft,
correct? Right.
correct.
And then you let the water go.
And then I save the water.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
Okay.
because it's not that much water, so
Yeah.
you're going to need water in order to blend it in the blender.
Got you.
And then once you've blended this is the pulp that you get once you strain it.
Okay.
Now, there are no seeds, but I also use the skin. So I use every part
Everything.
of the guava. And once we strain it, of course, this has seeds in it. We then don't have seeds. And this is the pulp. And this is the pulp that we're going to put in the pan to cook, along with sugar and a little bit of lime juice for the acidity of it. And then we are going to cook that into a guava preserve or guava jelly. But again, it's going to be thick and it's not going to be see-through because you have the entire guava in it.
Is this a recipe that you learned later on in your life, or is it something that was in your household as a younger woman?
My mother made it, and she again learned how to make it from Amy Mackay. Amy Mackay was a second mother to my mother.
Okay.
She taught her how to cook, to do preserves. She taught me to sew at a very young age. She was a family member. So my mother made guava jelly, and then as she got older, my sister and I took it on. And we have kind of adapted our own flavor. Hers was a little sweeter. We've kind of cut back on the sugar a little bit.
Okay.
And so we've continued making it. You got a guava tree, you have to use the guavas.
Yes.
So you don't want
Yes.
them to spoil.
Right. And again, you just like the green gage, you could. This is a preserve. You could use it as a jam instead of buying jam at your local grocery
Exactly.
store.
And again, there are no preservatives, so it is 100% natural. But it has to be refrigerated.
Yes.
The one thing I will say to people is sometimes you have it out and it gets a little bit of white. Mold, the white mold is fine. This black mold is really bad. I say to people, refrigerate it.
And how long has one of these in a jar lasted?
Years in the refrigerator.
Wow.
Years.
Wow. And so we're going to go over to the stove, you said?
Yes, we are.
Okay, we're going to make our way there.
So here we have guava jelly being made.
Ooh.
Now, guava jelly boils for hours upon hours upon hours. This pot was 3/4 full.
And you should use a steel pot?
And this is an iron pot. This is a seasoned iron pot. If you're going to start making it and you're using an iron pot, you have to season the pot, which means that you have to oil it. Usually you put salt and you let it heat up over time. So this is an old iron pot. So this has been seasoned.
And wood spoon, you said once
Wood
more?
spoon again.
Okay.
And one of the things with making guava jelly is as you're making it and it's cooking, there's a froth, a white froth, and you have to spoon that off.
Okay.
So you always have to have another pot
Okay.
close by that you spoon off and you take off until that froth ends, and now we are just cooking guava jelly. But always remember that if you put, let's say 4 cups of the guava pulp that you've already ground and put it in, is going to cook down to 2 or 1.5.
Oh.
And you have to be watching it. It's not something that you can just put on the stove. You have to constantly stir.
So when you have like a day off, a Saturday or Sunday for most individuals, and you're lounging in the house, this is the time to make it.
And you're going to be in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to burn. So you're also doing it on a medium fire. A medium to low fire, because you want it to cook slowly, but you want it to cook. And you're going to continue cooking it to the consistency that you want. This consistency is still runny, so this is not ready yet. I would say that this would need about another hour.
Oh.
And then it will be complete. But this is guava jelly, and this is guava pulp, sugar, and for every cup I put a 1/4 teaspoon of lemon juice.
Okay.
So for every cup
Do you
of
use some of the
guava,
lemons that you...
I save that
green?
juice, the
Yes.
green lime. Yes,
Yeah.
I save that juice so that we have it. And that gives it a little tartness, because remember, we're using skin and seeds and everything. And then once we're putting it through, we're saving the pulp. So you're going to have a little bit of the acidity from the skins. And if the browner the guavas get, the sweeter they get.
Okay.
So you don't want, I don't like mine too sweet.
Sweet, right.
Some people like it sweet. So this will continue cooking with us stirring for about an hour more to get to a consistency.
The consistency and texture change, would it be a little bit more harder when it cooks?
It's
for
going to
an
be
hour?
stiffer,
Yeah,
so it's
okay.
not going to fall off.
I see.
It will be falling off in clumps.
Okay.
And then that is your, jelly. We call it jelly, but it's like a jam or a preserve.
Isn't that awesome?
And it smells good.
Oh, yeah, aroma now in this house.
And it's a pretty color. And this is
You
natural.
just natural. You
This
didn't
is
have
natural.
To, because the green gauge is a little bit more yellowish.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we put the food coloring and it turns green. This is the orange. This is more of an orange. Even though it's a pink guava, it comes out almost like an orange.
It's just lovely to see how our food ways change and people use what they everything that they had to make delicious recipes.
Well, also remember that we have red grout.
Oh.
So guava is also used for red grout.
Grout.
So when they had bushels and buckets of guavas, they would peel guava. They would use the skin to do one thing. They would use the guava itself. They would take out the seeds and they would stew them. So you have guava shells. Then they would take the skin and the seeds and boil it and make the water for the red grout, or make jelly. So there are different ways of using one fruit in different ways.
Yeah. So we're gonna move back to our table and talk a little bit more about culture and cuisine for this virtual series. So we're back here at the big table, and earlier we made green gage, and now we're going to taste our guava with jam. So this is how it looks when it's cooked and it's bottled.
Man.
So this is the consistency we're talking
Yes,
about, that it
yes.
shouldn't move.
And it's not gonna fall off.
So I'm getting the opportunity. And so I can taste somewhat of how the flavors of our red grow, which is one of my favorite desserts.
Yes. Because it's the guava.
Yes, the
And
guava.
because this is natural. But if you also notice, you kind of taste almost like a little sandy, and that's the skin.
I do, and
Yes.
I do taste some of a zing. There's a zing in it, like the lemon that you were
A little
talking
bit of the
about.
lemon, yes.
This is way better, literally, than what I go to the store and buy for toast.
Well, this is fresh.
Yeah,
It's also using the entire fruit,
and it's lighter. It doesn't feel as heavy as store-bought.
and it's not gooey, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
not.
glucosey.
No.
It's not gelatinous.
It's very light.
It's light.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. But again, there's no preservative. So the preservative is really the lime
Right.
juice, which is just adding a flavor to it. That's different. Now I also make at times, I make a spicy where I add cinnamon and nutmeg and cardamom and allspice.
Oh.
So it has a taste of guava, but it's also very spicy.
So, why do you think it's important that we document Caribbean and our Virgin Islands foodways?
My reason for doing it is my love of good food, my love of foods without preservatives, my love of sharing with other people, and I have the fruits. So yes, it does take time, but I enjoy other people tasting something that's really good.
Yes.
And something that's your taste buds. It's in your mouth and you're just enjoying it and saying, that's really good. Now I taste this. But I also think that for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, we need to let them know that there were things that we did with fruits and vegetables and other foods, and that there is a love of saving and savoring our foods.
Yes.
And understanding that there were different textures and different tastes. If you got a guava jelly that you bought in the store, that's really good. You can almost see through the guava jelly. This one has a lot of body. And it has a lot of flavor.
Yes, it does.
And again, that's it. That's a natural jelly.
Well, we're in the Caribbean when you hear the cock crow.
So I just like people to understand that they can also do it. It's not something that I'm the only one. Anybody can do it.
Right.
It takes time and it takes persistence to try it. My first jelly didn't come out good.
Right.
It was watery. You had to try it away and start over new. But do little batches.
Yes.
Until you get it to the consistency that you like. And then you're able to share with other people.
Yeah, and people love things that are made with love and things that are healthy.
Yeah.
People are paying big money to have foods that are organic,
Yes.
and we have them in our backyards.
We do.
So it's important for us to follow our foodways.
Yeah. And also share.
Yes.
Share with everybody. Share with you and say to you, you can also do this.
But that's what festival time is about.
It is.
It's about
Yeah.
sharing.
And to think about it, you have a breakfast and you got titi bread. And you
Yes.
put this on a titi bread and a cup of bush tea. And wow.
Delightful.
Yes, there it is.
So, Ms. Gerard, thank you so much for being part of our virtual Crucian Cultural Cuisine segment. I know that you do so many works in our community, and thank you for sharing and providing love.
And thank you for coming, and thank you for allowing me to share with you. This is just my little part of sharing of our culture and saving our fruits for the generations to come.
Ah, oui.
Yes, alawi. Together.